a lot of the NFL offseason discussion since the draft and free agency all kind of fizzled away has been centered around Deshaun Watson, the Cleveland Browns quarterback, is now in day 3 of the disciplinary hearings with Sue L. Robinson. We're going to find out at some point here, Michael, but I'm not sure if it'll be by the end of this week or maybe early on into next week. What's your read on what we've seen so far this week with the disciplinary hearings going on right now for the Browns quarterback?
Well, I think if you read the Washington Post every morning, that Mark Masick is pretty wired into this thing. And he wrote a column or an article the other day about the league would like to have a 1-year suspension. But the league knows that if they try to impose something that they can't solidify, that the Goodell could be at risk to lose all his power. Now, it's been collectively bargained, so you think it should be a lock cinch, but I don't know if those things always hold true. So for me, I think the league wants to do a settlement before they do anything because it then ensures the power of the commissioner to see. But like I wrote about today, Femi, I mean, the one thing we know is you're going back and sitting on a lake or you're at the beach here in Ocean City or you're dealing with the heat in Las Vegas, he's getting suspended. Now, whether it's 8 games, whether it's 6 games, whether it's a year, I don't know. But he's getting suspended.
Yeah. No, I think that's really clear when you look at this thing here. It's interesting, though, that because I know the outside perception is like, why would they want to negotiate with somebody who has been accused of what Watson has been accused of? Now, 20 of the 24 civil suits have been settled. So it's now mainly centering around the 4 civil suits that are still open there. But you mentioned the settlement that the league would try to reach with Watson on some sort of suspension. And does that make sense to you that they would negotiate with this? I get what you're saying with the Goodell not wanting to lose the power or be vulnerable to that in a future CBA here, but it almost seems like it's kind of crazy. It's like, wow, like Watson, accused of all these things, has brought all this bad negative press to the NFL throughout this offseason, and here they are trying to negotiate with that same guy.
Well, you got to separate the two things. They're negotiating with so they don't have to go to court on an appeal, right? So they're really trying to do that. I think that's more than anything. And obviously, the Players Association represents Watson, so they're going to do the best job for him. And they're saying, hey, okay. Now it depends on who has the hammer. I mean, if Sue Robinson comes down with an unbelievably strong verdict against him, maybe the league just takes their chances. I think a lot of it is going to come down to what she tells both parties about the validity and the strength of each one's case. I think that's going to be critical, Femi. And I think the one thing, if you're the Browns, and again, today earlier on VSiN, if I'm the Browns, I'm going to be all in on the Jimmy Garoppolo deal. I'm going to go get Jimmy Garoppolo, and it's the best Airbnb they could get. Yeah. It's the best Airbnb they can get, Femi, because he comes in there. Is he perfect? By no means. But the guy has played well. He's been in this offense before, and he gives them a rental that they need for a year.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting dynamic there if they were to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm not sure what they would have left to give up after giving up all those assets for Deshaun Watson. Maybe the Niners could take a mid-round pick because they gave up 3 first-rounders, so it's not going to be a first-rounder. A second-rounder, I believe, I don't know how many of those they have as of now here, but it almost feels like they don't have the assets to even trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, but maybe the Niners are in a situation to where they're just willing to take anything versus cutting him outright and letting him hit the open market there.
Well, I mean, I think this, Fem, so the Browns give up a fifth. Say they give up a 5th-round pick that moves to a 4th. First of all, who's your competition for Garoppolo? Who's after him?
And not a lot of people.
Nobody has $24 million. The Browns could sign him with Mayfield on the team, and they still have enough cap room. Now, they don't want to do that, but they'll eventually get rid of Mayfield's number. So then they can redo the contract. Garoppolo is willing to redo his deal. And the other fact is, if Garoppolo comes in and plays really well, maybe the Browns pick up a compensatory pick. Maybe they get their 5th back, or maybe they get a 3rd based on how he plays, based on his next contract. Look, I think the one thing you always want to do with a player is have the ability for that player to be in his last year where he's as desperate as you are to be successful. That's always a great situation to be in. And I think that for the Browns, I mean, Mayfield, fits the system in Cleveland well. I mean, what he did last year, he was hurt. But so does Watson. But so does Garoppolo. Garoppolo averages 8.4 yards per completion. I mean, everybody complains about Garoppolo's interceptions. When you do it over time, Watson has a higher interception percentage than Garoppolo does. Now, Garoppolo makes some stupid plays, and Watson makes some plays with his feet that Garoppolo don't. I'm not trying to compare the two here. But what I'm saying is, to me, if you've got a team that you feel like is a Super Bowl caliber team, you can't go into it with Jacoby Brissett. I mean, you just can't do that. It's been proven in Miami. It's been proven in Indianapolis that he's a good, serviceable, come in, finish the game, maybe start a game, but not a long-range middle reliever. I don't see it.
If you're the Cleveland Browns, you're Andrew Berry, the general manager, would you make that trade before we get a disciplinary conclusion on this Watson thing, or would you wait for after the news comes out?
Well, I think you got to wait till after you see exactly what's going to come down, right? Unless you've got to make a deal with him. But I think they know that he's going to get suspended. I mean, I think you have to know that. Could you imagine the outrage if he doesn't get suspended?
Oh, my God. Yeah, I can't even imagine a world where that takes place.
Yeah, you can't even imagine it. So, but if it's only 4 games, which is what I think the Browns thought when they entered into this trade, I think they thought it was a 4 or maybe 6, and they felt like they could win with Brissett and he'll come back and – but if it's going to be longer than 6, it's going to be 10, 12. You got to get another quarterback.
Yeah. It almost feels like it takes a little bit of the leverage out of Cleveland's hands after the hearing comes up, because San Francisco would know that, okay, you guys probably need a quarterback, but then at the same time, you mentioned that San Francisco doesn't have a whole lot of suitors who are after Jimmy Garoppolo. So maybe it works out best for both case scenario with both teams starving and needing something, and then they can find each other and it's a match made in heaven. I want to ask you, though, about – oh, you were going to say something real quick? Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, did you see the report yesterday where somebody completely dismissed Seattle's interest in Baker Mayfield? Did you see that report that came out on
I did
Twitter
not catch
yesterday?
that. Who did that come down from?
I'm going to look on it. I don't know if this is a viable source, but I got a text yesterday from somebody that said that hold here 1 minute here. When you look for, it's always impossible when you're looking for a text.
I mean, that's an interesting thing, though, with Seattle and Baker Mayfield.
So it's by this guy, Sports. It came out from Sports Key to Pro Football, and it said, fact check, accidental Baker Mayfield Seahawk trade, rumor debunked. Guy's got 67,000 followers. I don't know if it's – I don't think they're involved. I don't think they are, but I think he obviously – has put that out there, so we'll see if it's true. I mean, it didn't make sense when the report came out. As we talked about last week, it seemed like a report to facilitate the Panthers and the Browns to get a deal done.
Yeah, and we heard Baker Mayfield speak at his camp in Norman, Oklahoma earlier this week, saying that both he and the Browns have moved on. Now, they asked him that if he was completely slamming the door shut and completely ruling out a reunion, and he didn't really go that far, but he pretty much said both sides are ready to move on, and it would have to be the Browns who would have to extend the olive branch if they wanted to do a reunion with Baker Mayfield. But it's kind of gone on what you mentioned all throughout this offseason, that this thing can't be repaired, and it's the two sides would probably be best just going their separate ways.
I mean, you can't put – I mean, look, no matter how much therapy, you're not going to be able to get this to come out, right? Because the kid's sitting there, and he knows he's not going to be on the team next year. Now, if he goes to Carolina, he's got a chance to be on the team next year. In Cleveland, he has no chance to be on the team next year. So, like, why would I do that, you know? And then why would you want him? Like, to me, Garoppolo gives them the best rental that they could possibly get. If I'm Andrew Berry, I'm going to go get Garoppolo. There's no competition for him, you know. And even if Seattle wants Garoppolo, San Francisco doesn't want to trade him to San Francisco.
Yeah, they would never trade him. Yeah,
they would never trade him there. So you know, and obviously there's been no offers on Garoppolo. Now, I think what we're going to see here in the next coming days is we'll see Garoppolo, a video of Garoppolo throwing the ball. We'll see some form of political campaigning to show Garoppolo's healthy. We'll see some of that, right? And once we see that, then, you know, they'll be able to kind of, you know, cleanse the waters, if you will, to see who's really interested. But look, all the starting jobs are filled. There's only one starting job that's not filled. Basically, it's, you know, Seattle, Carolina, and Cleveland. But we know Carolina's probably going to get Mayfield. What Seattle does, I don't know.
Oh,
but
it's Drew Lock,
Cleveland's got to fix. Yeah, maybe. But Cleveland's got to fix their thing. I mean,
thanks for watching the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi. And for more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to VSiN Live and the GM Shuffle podcast with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN, wherever you get your podcasts.